Interference with our drones will be considered an act of aggression. Our retaliation will be swift. Thank you for your cooperation.
Damn it. Well.
Hi, this is the Professional Amateur Hour coming to you with another review. This week I checked out Immortal Kombat. And this 2026 film was directed by Monroe Robertson and stars Eve Fournier, Roxanne Brooks, and Dominique Swain, among others, of course. So what is the story of Immortal Kombat? Well, with this one, it is about this agency that has a time machine, and what they do is they go back and they steal famous warriors out of history and then get them to fight for our entertainment. And with this most recent group, you know, there's 10 fighters or 8 fighters or something like that. And they figure out a way that they're going to team up and then try to fight the company and of course get back to their own time. What will happen though? Well, for that you gotta watch the movie and find out. Alright, so let's discuss Immortal Kombat. Now this one should not be confused with Immortal Kombat from 1994. That's a totally different movie. This one is from 2026 and is actually an Asylum film, and they are a production company that makes kind of these mockbusters. So they are trying to get ahead of Mortal Kombat that comes out this month with their own movie called Immortal Kombat. So kind of very similar name. And they have a similar kind of idea as well. One of the things with Asylum is that, at least in their most recent ones, I have found it's a lot of just people talking in rooms. But this one, actually, I'm pleasantly surprised that it is not just that. They actually have fights in it. And so if you kind of are, you know, riffing off of Mortal Kombat, you gotta have those fights. And this one's easy enough just to have fights, and fights fill up time. So I don't know why they don't do this style more often. But I would say it's probably like 50-50, like 50% people talking in rooms and then 50%, you know, actually working towards fights and stuff like that. And it works. For an Asylum film, like all it's gotta do is really be entertaining. And this one is entertaining. Like I watched it, I kept going through it, especially in that third act. Things kind of go off the rails and there's no more talking in rooms, and it's just people doing what they gotta do to either survive or time travel or whatever it may be. So as a B-movie enjoyer, I enjoyed this one. Even as like an Asylum fan, I think that this one is decent enough to enjoy for most people, I would say. And as I mentioned, they do have quite a few fights in this one. They have, you know, 8 or 9 warriors, and they're always fighting each other. And I gotta say, I enjoyed the fights. Samurai versus, you know, barbarian, and then knight in shiny armor versus samurai, and then what else? They have Zulu warrior versus, you know, Scottish warrior, and they just kind of have all of these different ones. And I enjoy kind of just having the variety of different people with different weapons and how that all kind of works out. And no one has a gun. I guess one person has a gun, but it's, you know, they only have one shot and they use it right away. So they are all just sword fights, and then they have to take on these like robots with swords, and the robots don't have swords, the robots have bullets. So it all just, I don't know, it is quite interesting fight scenes when it does come down to it, and you actually enjoy the fight scenes, so that's always good. What else? I did think the story, you know, was enjoyable enough. They have quite a few things happening. After all, they're having to get to those fights, so they have, you know, segments in between those fights that are, you know, just doing stuff. And it works. Like, it's always kind of moving forward. There's no real kind of just downtime. They do have times where they have to talk to each other and, you know, get each other to each other's side and stuff like that. But for the most part, the story is fast enough and with enough variety, and you just kind of go along with it. So that, I would say, makes it for an enjoyable Asylum film, if you can believe that. And I think that brings me to what doesn't work with this film. Well, of course, it's a low-budget B-movie from the Asylum, so it's got, you know, everything that you would expect from them. The acting is a mixed bag. Some people are better than others, but at the same time, some people don't have to be if they're just, you know, a crazed warrior. They're just, you know, being crazy and fighting all the time. So it does make those characters kind of seem lackluster. In addition, there are just some kind of dumb lines in this one. And I do wonder if that's because they're expecting people to watch it with their phones, so they have to kind of repeat things or say things that are very obvious because you're not looking at the screen. So they do also have dumb lines to say every so often. And of course, if they're got that mixed bag acting, it might not be pulled off in the best way possible. So that was an issue throughout this one. And another thing with this movie is it does have some CGI components to it, of course, but I kind of think they are AI, which of course just leaves a bad taste in your mouth when it's coming from the asylum. You'd think they'd have like a CGI team or at least a department or something like that. But with this one, they have like a big battle in the beginning that seems to be AI CGI, which is not the biggest issue. It's the thing that I had kind of trouble with was their title cards, and their title cards just have like the people's faces and they're screaming in a particular way that just makes it look like AI. It'd be so easy just to have those people in front of a green screen and you just kind of overlay it or whatever. But because they're all screaming in a particular way, it just makes it seem like AI generated title cards, and it just kind of leaves a little bad taste in your mouth when you're watching it. Just moments of cringe here or there. And another thing, and this is no fault of the movie, but like I didn't know all of the warriors, and I think that the fact that I knew some of them probably increased my enjoyment. So you do have to have some type of historical context for at least most of these warriors. Like they have Joan of Arc, and if you don't know who that is, then you're not going to like this film. Let's see, who else is there? There is Attila the Hun. I liked his character. There is Genghis Khan. So like, if you don't know who these guys are or why they're important, like you're not going to enjoy this one. So there is, I would say, a certain person that is excluded from enjoying this movie. And so the less ignorant you are of history, I think the more you'll actually kind of enjoy this one. So would I recommend this film? Well, I would say if you're looking for something to enjoy for an hour and 20 minutes, this is probably a good bet to press play on. It is an Asylum film, but one of the Asylum films that are enjoyable. So yeah, press play if you want. As for a rating, well, ultimately, I thought it was okay. And so I gotta give it the score of 4. And with that being said, I think that's all I wanted to say. So like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.